Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Today's focus on the operational side of the business. Without wasting any more time, thank you again for coming and for sticking with us until so far. So I'm going to hand over to you.
Good morning, everybody, and hope you are all safe. Today in Cape Town, it's nice, wet, and rainy. It's a nice, wet, rainy day. But more importantly, I think we should be blessed to say that we're still safe from the COVID-19 pandemic. Today marks 76 days of our lockdown, and we're still alive and we're kicking. So today's session is we are looking at the operations side of the business model canvas. As I indicated the very first time, is that this is a canvas. It is made of the left, right, and the bottom part of your of the canvas. So today we're going to be focusing on the left part of the canvas. But I think before we do that, it to be quite so that is the session 2, which is operations. I actually would like us just to recap in terms of what we did on Monday. On Monday, we touched on the customer segments, which is a very, very critical element in terms of your business. You need to understand who your customers are. And we brought in something that many people don't understand, which is the buyer personas. Your customer segments, your buyer personas actually reflect your customer segments. We also then looked at the value proposition, whereby we're saying that the value proposition is that what value do you want to add to that particular customer, and then your customer relationship. Here the aim is to make sure that you actually have a lifelong relationship with your customers, because without your customers your business cannot exist. And then we also touched on the thing on your channels, is how do you get to your customers, which distribution channels and promotion channels are you going to use, what is relevant to your customers. And so now from the four items that we spoke about, now we're gonna build on our business model canvas. And today we're starting off with key partnerships. The key partnerships basically describes the network of suppliers and partners that make your business model work. You cannot, most business cannot operate without their suppliers or their partners. So you need to define who your partners are in your business and who your suppliers are in your business. The key question that one would need to actually understand or ask around the key partnership is, who can help you leverage your business model? Who would be interested in your users? Who are your key partners? Who are your key suppliers? Which key resources do you need? Are you acquiring from your partners in order for you to actually meet your business obligations? And then most importantly as well, which key activities do your partners perform for you, which is either for you or for us, depending on whether you're a small business or you're a big business. So partnership is very, very important. If, for example, you're a weaving company sitting in Mpumalanga, you might find that someone like a DHL becomes a partner, because they're going to be able to move to freight your goods from KZN either to Johannesburg or to Cape Town or to overseas, depending on where your client is. So the people that help you get your business working, regard them as your partners and your suppliers, and then have a relationship with them. Because if you don't have a relationship with them, they're actually not able to actually satisfy your customer needs at the end of the day. So in terms of your characteristics, you need to define your characteristics for your partnerships. Motivation for your partnership, is it maybe something that where you're sharing costs in order to meet your customer obligations? Are you optimizing the economies of scale, risk reduction, or is it something that you are looking at acquisition of resources in order to be able to actually make your business work through the acquisition of resources from someone else who does not have the resources You might not have those resources in-house, but because you need that particular resource from some in order for your business to work, you can then get into partnership without you using so much of your financial resources. In terms of your partnership, there are four key types of partnership, and each one of them can be different from each particular business depending on what it is and that you are doing. There is the contractual. The key partnership one is your contractual, or you've got a key partnership. It's a contractual, or you've got an agreement in place. I prefer to actually have an agreement in place with the people that I work with, because then at least we know what my role and what their roles are, and then we know exactly where our partnership starts and where our partnership ends. So it's important to actually have an agreement in place, and the agreement in place that you put in place needs to be in line with what the two of you or the three of you what your objectives are, as well as servicing your particular clients and your customer base. The other types of partnerships that you can look at is your alliance, your JVs, your joint ventures. If you've done any tenders, do see that sometimes in the tender space they do ask you if you've got any joint ventures. The reason why you have things like joint ventures is because I might have skills in one particular sector, and then the other person has got skills in a particular sector. So then we form a joint venture in order for us to participate in a tender and submit a tender as a JV. And this is why it's actually important when you have your JV, or when you have your partnership, really define it and put arrangements in place and make sure that everybody is clear about what it is that they have to deliver and what it is, what their limitations in terms of your partnerships. There mustn't be any surprises that comes out of any of the partnerships. There's the motivation behind the partnerships. I think I've touched on a little bit of that. Are you optimizing your skills? Is it maybe possibly the economies of scale? And then the key partners and your value propositions. Again, make it very clear right at the beginning why it is that you're actually forming a partnership. And then I know that a lot of partnerships don't work very well when it comes to things where there is finance. So if you're going to have a partnership, my advice to you is that for a particular project that you're working with, go and open up a bank account that has got both signatories of the two partners on that particular bank account, so that the other partner doesn't go out and withdraw money or do any business transactions without you knowing it. So it needs to be that both of you are the signatories to that particular partnership and to that bank account. And when there's any monies that are being exchanged, both of you are signing to make sure that both of you are actually happy. And I think this is where the issue with partnerships, things don't work out, because people don't put agreements in place right at the beginning. I think it's very, very important that we understand what your service level agreements are with your service providers, and go back and say, does it make sense in my business to have any service level agreement, or are the current service level agreement post the COVID-19 pandemic still relevant? And I know that in many businesses, the way we operate and the way we're going to work post COVID-19 is going to be very, very, very different. Just go back to actually say why you're actually not re-looking at those particular service level agreements. Or it could be that the service level agreements are actually compliant with whatever it is that what both parties are wanting to do. I really, really would like you to go back into your business models and try and reconsider the partnership, the service level agreements that you have with the people that you're doing business with at the moment. We know that post COVID-19, the way we work is going to be totally, totally different. The next part of the presentation is we are going to be looking at, it describes the most important assets that you require to make your business model work. Your key resources underpin your business model. Which you need to define which resources underpin your business model. Which assets are essential in your business that actually make you run your business or make your business work. There's the key question that you need to ask in terms of your resources is rather the key resources that we've got required in your business is money, manpower, which is labor, machine, and material. Those are the key four resources that most businesses would have. But once you go further down in terms of your physical assets are the tangible resources that your company uses to create its value proposition. This could be in the form of equipment, inventory, buildings, manufacturing plants, your distribution networks that enable the business to function. Your distribution network could be, let's say, your storage facilities that you actually store the products that you've manufactured in your company, or it could be the fact that you are actually working with the courier service company that takes your products from A to B. Or also some companies you might find that if I buy something from you, you then say you've purchased A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z. Therefore, we are going to deliver the particular product to you to your company for free. But I need to make sure that the particular companies that are working with my distribution or deliveries are actually on board in most of the cases. We saw that during the stage 1 and stage 2 of the lockdown, some of the distribution companies were working and some of the distribution companies that didn't have were actually not working. So therefore, if you need to be able to understand who's working and who's not working in order for you to keep your business going. And then the next resource that we have is your intellectual. Intellectual resources are things like your brand. I think sometimes we actually undermine or downplay how much our brand is actually a resource in our own companies. And some companies have got patents and IP, which is intellectual property, or copyrights, or even partnerships. It might be that you've got a partnership that once I get into that partnership, I cannot actually go out and renegotiate another partnership because I am locked into a partnership with someone else. And that becomes our intellectual property. Critical, important, and we've seen what the human resources can do in many businesses. What is important here is to actually say to yourself what skills and jobs need to be filled. And then once you decide what skills and jobs need to be filled within your organization, you can then go out and see whether your human resources that you currently have actually have got those skills to fulfill the particular jobs that you need to actually supply to your customers. And I think one of the key resources, one of the key things that have come up with so many people that we've been talking about with regards to human resources is actually wanting to upskill their human resources on either things like the technology, to make sure that everybody is actually quite skilled in terms of how you actually interact with the customers. And the COVID-19 has actually forced us to go back and look at our skill set within our organization. I am one of the people that I used to love actually presenting in front of a group of people, but now I'm presenting remotely. So I've had to actually upskill myself in terms of how do I present, how do I project myself when I'm presenting to the people. So it's something that I've had to actually relook at in terms of my human skills and make sure that in my presentations to the team or the people that I'm not in the same room with, I'm able to actually articulate myself, and I'm actually able to share, and we're actually able to share and chat in the chat rooms. So the human skills is a critical, important element that you need to look at in your particular business and make sure that the skills that need to be upskilled, you actually then go out and upskill. And there's so many organizations as well that are actually running training courses in order to upskill your staff in your entities. Financial. It's cash in the bank or lines of credit and the ability to have stock options for your employees, plans for your employees. I'm going to really look at the cash. One of the key items that many businesses are struggling with at the moment is the fact that when we went into the lockdown, the cash flows was completely affected. And this is why you found out the banks have actually given many companies a credit lifeline to say, in order for you to be able to stretch your cash, your financial resources, we're giving you a financial break or a payment holiday. So say for the next 3 months, you are not paying for whether it's equipment that you've bought or it's for your car. But it's important to actually understand how your cash or even the cash mechanisms that you've taken up, how do they affect? Because there's also things like interest, which sometimes when we get given these lifelines, we don't look at the interest. We just get so excited about the fact that you've got a credit line, but look at what is it that is actually going to cost you at the end of the day. So it's important to actually make sure that you understand that any cash and the lines of credit, there is possibility that you might find yourself paying a higher interest rate. And it's important to understand how that affects your business and making sure that at the end of the day, it does not affect what you are charging your customers. Financial and the human resources have been very, very, very critical for a lot of businesses, because a lot of businesses, with regards to your financial resources, if you don't have any finance to buy stock, you're actually not able to produce any goods. If you don't have any human resources sitting in a factory because we're under lockdown, it means that you cannot actually go out and produce any goods. With the financial resources, it's critically important that you start having the conversation with your bankers and see how can they actually assist you to run your business. And then what you will find happening as well is that you might end up actually redoing your entire business model to make sure that you actually meet your financial obligations. But then again, in order for you to meet your financial obligations, you need to then go back to your customer and say, post COVID-19, who exactly is my customer? Before you go out and take out huge amount of loans, you need to understand where exactly is your customer's mindset at. Does your customer still believe that your particular product that you're offering is the right product? If it's not the right product, use that. Make sure that whatever money that you get from the institute, you're actually having to put that money towards what your customer is looking out for. So it's important that we go back to say, what is it that my customers are looking for, and then take that financial resources or the finances and actually tweak your particular product. The human resources is a very difficult, it's another factor that we need to look at, because we know that sometimes some of our staff might not be able to come back to the offices because they either can't either travel, or maybe they are sick. So then how do you get that human resource element into the particular business? And it's very difficult sometimes to actually replace a particular human resource in your entity based on the fact that they are a specialist, or they do something specifically for your company. And then the next section that we have for this session as well is the key activities. The key activities in your business is, which key activities do you need to perform well in your business model? You need to say to yourself, we've got so many activities that we've got to do in a business, but you need to be able to say, what are the key activities that I need in order for me to meet my customer requirements. And with regards to the key activities, what is important here is to actually rank them in order of priority and say, this activity one is number one priority, because if I don't have this activity in place, I'm not able to meet my obligations to my particular customer and for your business model to actually work. You need to look at your value proposition and say to yourself, what kinds of activities are key to our business to actually make sure that we are delivering our value propositions to our customers. And then again, what kinds of activities are key to your distribution channels? If your distribution channel is one of the important activities that gets the product from A to B to the customers, you need to make sure that your distribution channel actually works. and then make sure that you've got the right activities in that distribution model that actually really get the product from A to B. Because if your product is sitting in your factory, you're actually then not meeting your value proposition. The additional question that you can then also then ask yourself is, what kind of activities are important if we want to maintain our customer relationship? Customer relationships need maintenance. Customer relationship, you must regard it as any relationship that you have. If you've got a friend, if you don't phone your friend frequently, you lose that relationship. So customers, you must regard your customers as well in that prospect, and say to yourself, even despite the fact that we're under lockdown, pick up the telephone and check on your customers and how they're doing. So it's important. So that activity, you might find that bringing in a telephone conversation, or rather a phone call, becomes a key activity that you either perform on a weekly basis or every 2 weeks. And sometimes you might then say, our activities that are going to enhance our customer relationship is an email communication that you then put in your diary and say to yourself, every 2 weeks, we need to communicate with our customers. We need to find out how our customers are doing. Because if you don't keep that relationship going, the customers are most likely going to go to someone else. So it's important that you actually nurse that relationship and make sure that our customers, your customer base, has got that relationship with you. It needs to be an open, a two-sided relationship. Also ask them, what is it that they actually want from you? And then also with regards to your activities, the kind of activities are also fundamental to your revenue streams. So I find that a bulk SMS and the bulk emails, they're actually quite a good activity to have, but they're very, very cost effective. So you can have a bulk SMS, and you send it out. You don't pay as much as you would pay through a phone call. So then maybe your phone calls, you then take your phone calls and say, I am, for the top 10 customers, I'm going to have the one-on-one telephone conversation, and then the bulk of your customers, you then have an SMS communication or email communication, because at the end of the day, you don't want your communication channels to your customers to actually affect your revenue streams.
Can I kind of interject a little? I think more it's an observation rather than a comment. Is that like all the nine elements of the business canvas model seem to be very much interconnected and integrated, and I think sometimes we fail to see the interconnectedness of our business, and we tend to keep every little element separate. But I think what makes us more effective is to see this in a way that it's all interconnected, so that you get a better understanding of what your business is doing. And I think the business model canvas does that for us, because you see everything on one page all at once. So at any given time, you know exactly what activity is going to be doing what for the value proposition or even the customers and so on. So I'm just thinking the value of this tool is really, really good, because you are able to see everything on your that your business is actually doing.
On that note, the beauty about the business model canvas is that you're actually seeing it on one page, Rosemary. At any given time, when you're feeling you've got that little extra time in your hands, just pick up that one page. You're not picking up a 45-page business strategy and paging through it. You're actually able to see, where are my shortcomings in this particular model? Is it my customers? Am I losing touch with my customers? If I'm losing touch with my customers, why am I losing touch with my customers? Maybe it's my distribution. It's my distribution activity. Maybe my guys who are doing my deliveries are not getting to my customers on time. And then you're actually able to pinpoint it right, and just go back and understand, what is that item that is actually impeding you from being able to meet your customers' needs and obligation. And then at the end of the day, because you as a business, you've got a value proposition to make sure that your customer is happy. So the business model it's a very powerful tool that you, at any given time, you can actually just look at a glance and say, oh my goodness me, on our left-hand side, we are doing well, but on our right-hand side, we are actually not doing well. And the reasons why you're not doing it well, you're actually able to pinpoint why you're actually not doing as well as you should be.
I think what I also like about this tool is that it's not a static tool. You can be adding to it at any time and all times. And during the COVID-19, we've had to look for new customers and new market segments. So once you've actually identified who those new customers are, you then can identify how do you relate to those customers? How do you use your existing channels, or what new channels you're going to be needing to reach your customers. So what I'm liking about this is that it's a very fluid tool that you can chop and change as the environment dictates. So are there any comments from anybody out there? Questions?
Hello, everybody. Well, I thought I'll just jump in with a question about operations. Look, the business canvas tool, it's very much like a mind map which allows you to see everything at the same time, but it still requires analysis. And that is the challenge which many SMEs are currently facing. How do I think about the new business environment? When we talk about operations, we're really talking about how the business is set up to deliver its offering. How do I coordinate my staff? How do I arrange my space? How do I integrate resources into a production process? These are the questions underlying operation. What COVID-19 has done is to change the way in which we organize all our resources. And at the same time, it has changed the potential markets available to us. So this requires a complete relook of operations, and it means some businesses may need to change their business models.
Yeah.
In other words, if I was a business and I exported half of my product, can that still apply? If that is not the case, I have to relook at my business model and change operations according to new regulations. If, for example, my business had 3 or 4 very large customers who were large retailers, but now with a changed environment, should my business model change to serving hundreds of small customers all over the country and perhaps going online rather than only going through retail outlets? Those are the sorts of questions which underlie thinking in operations. So even though the tool is there, the business canvas allows us to represent that. The analysis, that is what we need to do. And what we need to do with the business canvas is to show the relationships between these different blocks. If something changes in one block, how does that change relationships in each of the other blocks? So on its own, the business tool needs to be supplemented with additional analytical tools. That's just my contribution.
Thank you very much, Naveen. You're spot on with that, because it is a tool that helps us think and to think through our processes and so on. So thank you for that contribution. You're absolutely correct.
Can I just also just to add on to what he's saying now? I like the analogy that you have with regards to if you were exporting, if most of your goods were exported, what then does it mean post COVID-19? It might mean that the countries that you're exporting your product are still under lockdown. So it means that those countries that where you're actually not able to take your goods to those particular countries, you must then say, can that product that I'm exporting, is there a market for it here in South Africa or within Africa? And then if there is a market in South Africa, what is the price that those customers in South Africa are willing to pay for that particular product? And how do I get to those particular customers? Are they sitting in KZN? Are they sitting in Limpopo? Or are they sitting in Cape Town? Maybe they could be sitting around the corner from your factory in Cape Town. And therefore your distribution channels, your distribution network is no longer as difficult as it is when you're actually exporting that particular product. So it's important to actually sit back and say, it goes back to say, who is my customer? Where does my customer sit? And how do I make sure that I meet the customer needs and wants with my product, and then work around that, and then look at your operations. And then, like you said, you're talking about the social distancing also in a factory setup. If you had 100 people in your factory, we know that now your factory cannot operate with 100 people in it. So what does it mean? Does it mean that you're going to have shift work and have 50 people working in the morning or during the day, and the other 50 working in the evenings? Or do you cut back your workforce in order to still meet your customer needs and demands? So it actually needs you to actually really, really look at the entire business, and say, what is relevant now, not yesterday, but now, and in order for it to take you forward with your business. And it might mean that, you know what, it will be okay as well to say, you know what, I am doing away with this particular segment because it does not make any economic sense for us to be marketing our product to this particular segment. But there's another segment that has actually arisen from this particular pandemic. We look at the likes of the SAB breweries, which is it's no longer SAB brewer. But can you imagine SAB breweries making hand sanitizers as a business because they could not sell alcohol? You know, they cut back their staff, yes, but the factory was still producing what the market requires, which was the hand sanitizer. Now, when you go to the shops, believe it or not, there's so many brands of hand sanitizers that I didn't even think existed pre-COVID-19. And 3 weeks ago, you could hardly find any hand sanitizers on the shelf. But right now, there are so many options. So people have had to go out there and say, I need to find out what is it that market, what is the market, what is it that the market is looking at, what are the customers looking out for, so that I still keep my business running. Rosemary, do we have any other questions on the?
No, I don't see anything right now. Yeah, I'm getting a few comments here, people saying they enjoyed it and they loved it very much, and it's making a lot of sense to them.
When we talk about operations really strike at the heart of business models. And I was wondering if there's any examples. I see Joanna Orr has now spoken about her business model going online. Many businesses are doing that. I was wondering whether there were any other examples or any other cases of how the actual operational structure of the business has changed. Has the business model changed? Are there any other examples?
I can give you an example. I think if I look at the Cape Craft and Design as an institute, I think that their business model is going to change, and I think has changed. We are sitting here having this conversation remotely, and Rose is sitting in a house, Taryn is sitting in a house, and Jacqueline is sitting in a house. So what you find, what's going to happen is that whoever they report into, they're going to have to find themselves possibly having more meetings or rather more conversations, rather than actually having the physical connectivity that they would have, to say I'm going to my the way, if I look at the way the CDI is set up, when you want to go for a tea break, you pass Rosemary's desk, and then you can easily ask Rosemary something. But now what it is that what this pandemic is doing is that it is forcing you to actually write things down and actually put a time and say, Rosemary, are you available at 10 o'clock for me to have a chat with you? It actually is forcing you to do things that ordinarily you would say, oh, you know what, on my way to get my cup of tea, I would chat to Rosemary. But we don't know whether Rosemary is available when you want to chat to them. So you actually need to have that appointment with Rosemary to actually have a conversation with Rosemary. So in as much as, and that is just a small operational element that I am thinking of. And some days I sometimes would be at the waterfront and I will pop in and say, hi, Rosemary, I was in the area and I've just popped in to say hello. I cannot do that anymore. So now I need to phone her. So in terms of my operations as well as a business, it is changing the way I work. And it will change the way people work as a team. And then if it's changing the way we work as a team, think about how it is changing our customers. When schools open in the next few weeks, it's going to be difficult for some of us to have some of these webinars in the afternoon because the parents are going to be picking up their children from school. So you're going to have to find a way and say, maybe all the webinars are going to be in the morning when the school kids are at school. So again, your operations as well, I am going to have to tweak the way we operate instead of having webinars throughout the day because parents are going to have to go out and pick up their kids. So some of the changes are not as as the changes are there, and the more you dig deep, you'll soon figure out how much you actually need to change as a business.
I think another example, Naveen, if I may just add on that, is CDI actually. As we said previously, we had, we had to worry about the physicality of people being at the workshops for training. And now we're finding that we have to deliver our training through webinars. And one of the challenges then would be to make them short because people cannot stay online for very long, short, effective, and to the point. And also the number of people who are attending webinars are much more than the people who used to actually come physically. And we're finding that our reach, which I think is a more positive spin to this, our reach is further now because we have people who are logging in from Johannesburg and different parts of the country, and we are able to reach more people. So maybe while there's disadvantages, we definitely can see some advantages of that. Another thing that I think is a positive spin is that it has forced us to launch our e-learning platform very quickly. We're having our training online, and we are working on that very feverishly right now to get everything online. We're really looking at our material and especially delivering webinars that are to do with product, where we had a space for people to come and tinker around and do their samples and do their prototyping. We now have to find ways of how that can happen without having the physical space that we have. So yes, the models are going to change and they're busy changing. We don't know how it's going to look like in the end, but we certainly know that things are changing and we have to adapt and be relevant to the environment.
Any other chats or comments?
No, not at the moment. Joanna was just telling us about the fact that she was, her business model has changed to a totally online shop rather than a physical shop.
Yeah. So when you change to online, once you change to your online shop, it's important that your partner or your in terms of your partnerships with your distribution company, you must make sure that you find a reliable distributor who is going to, in as much as you're an online store, the fact is people buy something online, but that product still needs to get to them. So it's going to be quite important to make sure that you align yourself with a delivery company that shares the same views as you about your customers. So you're going to have to maybe go back and maybe interview a couple of people on the delivery space to make sure that when they go and deliver that particular product to your customer, they still have the same ethos that you would have had if the customer was in your store, for example. So it really requires you to kind of change the direction and make sure that the people that you have as your partners, they have got you, they've got you in their hearts as well, to actually make sure that both of you succeed.
I would imagine that Joanna's cost structure, although we're not there yet, has also changed because she's no longer having to pay rent, but now she might have to pay courier costs.
Yeah.
So your cost structure, which is going to be done next week, is also going to be affected. So I'm just looking forward to how that is going to pan out.
Absolutely, Rosemary. Yeah. So your business your business ops is going to affect the structure. We used to have an office in Century City. Four of us sitting in an office in Century City, and if you understand the cost of running an office out of Century City, we were paying the rent, and now we're actually working remotely. And what we've had to do with, for example, with USB, where we're doing the webinars online, we've had to change our costing structure, because instead of us doing a conference at the conference center at the city ICC, we are doing it online. So it means that cost, that hardcore costs that was there, that was related to to running of the conference, the venue, the scones that you eat at the city ICC, the lunch, that doesn't exist anymore. So therefore, we had to actually go back and recost, because we don't have the scones, we don't have the tea breaks, we don't have the yes, we've got the technical still, but everything has changed. Your business, your costing structure is going to change based on the fact that everybody's now on a remote basis, because you don't have some of those hardcore costs that you had before. So you need to actually then look at your costing structure and make sure that you are giving that value back to your customer.
Naveen has indicated that he's had to give a lot of discounts, 30 and 70% discounts at this time. And I think while we may think that, maybe that's a lot of discounts to be giving, but I think it's also a way of retaining your customers, so that post-COVID, you have a customer who is very appreciative of those discounts. Oh yes, he says his clients are discounting their products at the moment. So yes, that's another way of retaining your existing customers and being nice to them, and they'll remember you after the COVID-19 situation.
Absolutely. You have to actually you have to go out there and say, what has changed? What can I do? How can I make my customer lives easy? Because at the end of the day, you are a business as well. You still need to make money. So whatever discounts that you're giving to your customers, make sure that you are still making money. Maybe you might find that your customer base increases because your product is now more affordable than it was before. So there's a lot of it's a lot of uncomfortable territory that we're actually going into. But believe you me, if you do it right, your customers will be with you all the way, because customers love to be looked after. And if you look after your customers, the customers are going to stay with you through thick and thin. And start working on your business model canvas, and then start digging deeper and deeper and see where are you as a business. And once COVID is over, what is your business structure going to look like? And some of us are actually excited by the concept of what we're going to be changed. We're going to change, but our change means that we're taking our customers with us. And the one thing that we also need to be cognizant of as well is that going online, a lot of our customers are uncomfortable with the platform. So you need to be able to have that patience with your customers. Take your customers, walk their uncomfortable journey with them, and hold their hands. If they're not too sure how to click here and there, don't be impatient with them, because this is all new to us. It's all very new. So you need to have that essence to say, you know what, Mrs. Jones, you are 90 years old. You've never used a computer in your life, but now you have got to go click this, click that, click this. You know what? Your credit card is safe with me. Give them that assurance that they are safe with you. and then they will stay with you. And but more importantly, be patient with each other and be patient with your customers, because this is a completely different journey. And that is where I would like to leave it at, and say it's a journey. Some of us are going to be quicker at it. Some of us are already running with this webinars or the online learning, the online shops. But some of our customers are nervous and they're scared. Be able to identify those customers and walk the journey with them. And again, look after your customers and look after your staff, and more importantly, look after yourself, because this is a journey that you also need to travel with your customers.
Okay, thank you very much, Nonto. I see something coming up, quite a long note. Kerry, as event organizers move into the digital space, as Nonto described, how costs change because they are no longer food, etc. The challenge to us producing products like delicate bags, delicate handcrafted gifts that have huge socio-economic impact in South Africa. Surely we can encourage delegates to pay a registration fee that accommodates a product that could be donated to a community in need, a project close to the event's focus, so that we continue to be able to support physical products, jobs, and that the recipients of the product benefit too. Sorry, this is a late comment. Thank you. I think you're very correct in that we can find other ways of how we can still support the businesses that we were supporting before, and that's a good way of thinking about things. You know, like you think about things holistically, because there's a whole lot of people who will be affected by those things. Like you said, the people who do all the bags, the books, the whatever the conference is looking for. And so maybe that's another way of doing it. And then again, it could be about producing less because we need less. You know, ultimately things will start equalizing, and nature will take its course. Thank you very much for that comment.
Is that Carrie from Ayako Green, yeah?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. I know that they produce conference bags and goodies. I did meet them a couple of years ago at Smart Procurement in Johannesburg at the Gallagher Convention Center. Interesting enough, Kerry, just to give you one. Last week, the city of Cape Town actually sent out an email to all the service providers with a goodie bag to say we can actually go out and collect a goodie bag at one of the city's offices. Inside the goodie bag was a 5-liter sanitizer, which is what we're going to need for our businesses running forward, so that your staff are able to sanitize their hands. And it was a branded goodie bag that the city of Cape Town, but instead of you getting it when you arrive at the conference, we actually had to drive 5 minutes from my house to actually go pick up that goodie bag. And I thought that was actually quite a nice way to, and I've got my goodie bag. The other day I went shopping and I used that goodie bag for the branded City of Cape Town bag to do my groceries. And I thought, wow, in this time when we know that we normally get these goodie bags at conferences, we were actually given the goodie bags. We actually went and collected the bag. So maybe again, think differently about how your clients are interacting with the delegates. Maybe it's about you saying, I know that you're actually doing masks as well. Maybe it's about those delegates doing branded masks and putting them into that goodie bag and giving them to the people that would have attended the conference, and then courier them to them before the conference or the event starts. On that note, that's it from. I don't know what there is any other comments. It's actually quite it excites me to have this debate, because it's the reality. We've got our businesses, and our reality as business owners is that we want to make sure that our business still survives. So we need to find ways in which our businesses survive. But at the end of the day, it needs to be done in a safe environment, and making sure that our customers still get the best value for that an enhanced value proposition to our customers.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much for attending. We're looking forward to seeing you next week. So with that, I will close. Thank you very much, guys, and have a lovely day.